Our event, of course, is to promote the image and awareness of the American Heart Association, to encourage good aerobic exercise like walking, running, and skating, and of course to raise funds for the American Heart Association for heart research and community education. This year, the 18th annual Cincinnati Heart Mini Marathon is going to raise about $200,000. And over the past 18 years, we've raised over $2 million. So we're very proud of that fact. I want to thank the hundreds of volunteers that make this event possible. And today and tomorrow, I'm asking you all, if you would please take the time to thank some of these volunteers yourself. Without these volunteers, we wouldn't have an event. And thanks to the volunteers, we're very proud that the Cincinnati Heart Mini Marathon was again named as one of the top 100 races in Runner's World. So we're very proud about that. And we're also very pleased that our poster, which every year seems to get better and better, won another award. Last year's race poster, if you remember the fire truck with the Dalmatian, that won the third best poster in the United States as picked by Runner's World. And of course we've won 2 first prizes and a 4th. And that credit obviously goes to John Maggart and Cliff Schwander. And they have won many other national awards for their posters. And we're very fortunate to have John and Cliff donate their time to us. Incidentally, John Maggart is over in the right next to the Heart Association booth, and he will sign posters for you for free. All you need is a poster, which they're selling right in the next booth. Let me very quickly do a quick rundown of tomorrow's events, because as you know, we've added some new things. How many of you are running tomorrow? Okay, if you're a runner, you want to know 9 a.m. is the 5K. Last year we had 660 people in that, and we're ahead of that for this year. 10:30 is the 15K. Last year we had 2,500, and we're ahead of that. I expected about 3,000. We now have, by the way, the 8th largest 15K race in the country. At 10:40 we'll do the award ceremony for the 5K in the Westin, and at 1 o'clock back in Convention Center we'll do the awards for the 15K. Now, those of you that are walking, at 12:45 we'll have the pre-walk award ceremony at the starting line, and at 1 o'clock the heart walk takes off. On the other side of Columbia Parkway, new this year, down on Delta and Columbia Parkway, we're going to have the heart skate. At 12:30 we'll have the heart skate recreational piece, and that is basically a recreational skate, go as you please, fun skate for an hour and a half. And then at 2:15 for the hardcore racers, we'll have a 10K inline race. And it's 10K, helmets are required. How many of you are doing that? How many people are going to double or triple? That's what I want to know. We're going to do the 5K, the 15, and the skate. Okay, and then we will have the award ceremony for the heart skate at 3:15 in Funky's Blackstone Grill parking lot. Okay, let me go ahead and introduce our featured speaker. Bruce Jenner, in 1976 at the Montreal Olympics, any of you over 18 years of age remember this, Bruce Jenner became the world's greatest athlete with his world record-shattering performance in the grueling Olympic decathlon. Today, Bruce raises 8 children with his wife, Chris, and continues his quest for success in a professional marathon. He's a highly regarded host, television commentator, author, motivational speaker, actor, and of course an avid sportsman. He's president of his own corporation, he races cars professionally, and he sponsors one of the premier track and field meets in the world, the Bruce Jenner Classic, and he also flies his own jet. Together with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Governor Pete Wilson, Bruce serves on the board for the Governor's Council for Physical Fitness and Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to Cincinnati the 1976 Sullivan Award winner, the Associated Press Athlete of the Year, Track and Field's Male Athlete of the Decade, and a member of the Olympic Hall of Fame, our special guest, Bruce Jenner.
Welcome. You know, it always amazes me. You know, you see hear the introduction, and thank you, Roy, for that nice introduction. But the funny part is, you can go out there, you can win Olympic Games, you can take on the world, you can set world records, you can take your event and set it to a whole new standard, and the crowd goes, this is nice. Say you got 8 kids, immediately you see the moan, I see the heads go down, you start moaning a little bit, my gosh, yeah. 2 events to go. Don't tell my wife that. But actually, it's very exciting. It's a pleasure to be here. It's really a lot of fun for me. I have to go out so often, and talk to corporate groups and sales forces and all that sort of stuff. And it's nice here on behalf of the American Heart Association. And what a great job the city of Cincinnati is doing to promote this mini marathon. Everything that I do is all centered around health. It's centered around fitness. It's centered around good lifestyle. And so it's very exciting to come here to be around the people that are actually out there doing it. They're out there keeping their good old ticker in good shape. I always tell everybody, the most important muscle in your body, it's not, especially when I go to the weight room, I train at Gold's Gym in Venice, and see these guys, where men are men and women are men. They've got these big ones here, And I keep telling these guys, I know, you got these biceps in great shape, you're looking really good, but if your bicep goes, your arm's going to fall down, and, it's not going to be that bad. I said, but if your heart goes, that muscle goes, the only thing you're going to be pushing up is daisies. So, let's be honest, take care of that heart. Good cardiovascular work. So it's great to see here all these people that sort of believe in the same things that I do about good health and good nutrition. It's very important in our day. So here we go, me. I'm supposed to come up here. I get the next hour to spend with you guys to have a chance to talk to you. Now here we have a group of people that are obviously very healthy, they're fit, they come here, they're excited about what they're going to do, they want to increase, with their own personal experience, their own personal times, they want to get out there, want to better it, they want to feel good about themselves, they want to improve their health, and little old me has to say something to them, So I'm sitting in the back room trying to think to myself, what can I say? And I'm thinking, well, I could come up with maybe this subject, or maybe if I think about this subject, this might be the right thing. And, as my mind is working, I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. The athletes have really never been associated with the brain matter. We've always been sort of maybe the great doers of the world, not the great thinkers. So my mind's working. I couldn't help but reflect back when I was in high school about these 2 coaches who were arguing back and forth of which one had the dumbest athlete. The football coach said he had the dumbest athlete. The basketball coach said he had the dumbest athlete. They got to such a heated argument. And finally the football coach said, stop, hold it, you watch this. He said, Joe, big old Joe, was walking through the door. Bang, hits both his shoulders on the door as he comes in. He says, yeah, coach, what do you want? Coach says, here's a quarter. Go down and buy me a Cadillac. Okay, coach grabs a quarter, walks back out again, bang, hits both his shoulders on the door, and he's gone down the hall. Well, the basketball coach sees that. He says, hey, that's nothing. You watch this. He says, hey, Tom. Big old tall Tom was walking in the door, bang, hits his head on the top of the door as he comes in. He says, yeah, coach, what do you want? Coach says, go down to my office and see if I'm there. Okay, coach, turns right around back out again. Bang, hits his head on the top of the door, and he's gone down the hall. Well, the football player and the basketball player meet each other as they're going downstairs. The football player says, hey, he says, I think my coach has been hit one too many times. He gave me the money and everything to buy him a Cadillac. Never even told him what color to get him. The basketball player said, hey, that's nothing. You can't believe what just happened to me. He says, my coach told me to go down to his office to see if he was there. He had a telephone right beside him. He could have called for himself. If that holds true here today, we may be in big trouble, but somehow we're going to get out there. We're going to do this. What I would like to talk about and have an opportunity to share with you is some experiences in life. But all these experiences in life that I've had, and I've had the opportunity to enjoy and to experience, has all happened because of one thing. I'm sort of a living example. Do you know what? Dreams do come true. We can fulfill our dreams. As we all sit back and we sit in these chairs, we sort of think of ourselves as, you know what, I know down deep in my soul I'm a good person, that I can really make a difference in this world, that I have a special gift down deep inside. We all feel those feelings, but so many of us do not fulfill our dreams. Why? Just because of the frustration and the routine of daily life. Sometimes we never get to our dreams. Well, what I want to talk about is a dream that I have. The dream of trying to be in athletics, the dream of I never really quite knew where I was going with it, but for some reason I always stayed in it. It became very important in my life. But this dream we're on is what I call the journey. It seems like as our life goes on, we come to the Y in the road, and for some reason we're going to go to the left, we're going to go to the right. We make choices as we follow this dream, we follow this road through life. What we'd like to talk about today is dealing with the competitive edge that is down deep inside of all of us. We're all competitors. Let me tell you, in our society, you have to be a competitor. I mean, I've been to the Soviet Union, I've run over there, I've done this and that, and the reason that system failed is because there was no competition. I mean, you could be the smartest person in the world. They say you're going to push buttons in an elevator the rest of your life, and that's what you're going to do. There was no incentive. Here, we have an abundance of competition. I'm talking about all the time we are competitors. The Americans are probably the greatest competitors out there. That's why we have the strongest country. I mean, we learn about competition from the day you're born. You got your little brother, little sister, you're competing for that toy. You know, I want that toy. We get in school, you're competing in school to get a better grade on the test, so maybe you're a higher class ranking than the other person, so you can get into college. You get in college, you're competing against the other people in school, so you get the better grade, so you're going to get that job once you're out there. You get in the job force, and boy, then it really becomes competitive. The good old capitalistic system. One company competing against the next, trying to come up with the best products at the best price. And you're out there trying to get a job in there. Let me tell you, you have to be a competitor in our society. I call it finding the champion within. I am a firm believer that there is greatness down deep inside of every one of us. We have the ability, down deep inside, if we reach deep enough, to overcome tremendous obstacles in our lives. But we have to learn how to control it. We have to get from one point A to point B. We have to know how to get there. Well, my dream for many years was in athletics, in competition. That's what I dreamed about, I thought about. But for me, was the decathlon going to make me successful? No. Is this event tomorrow, is it going to make you successful? Is the business that you're in going to make you successful? No. For me, the decathlon was a tool to test myself. How good can you become? Tomorrow, there's a race. So that race is a test to see how good you can become. Down deep inside, nobody's going to help you. Nobody's going to push you down there, cross the finish line. You got to do it all yourself. And so that, for me, made it fun. It made it real challenging. How good can I become at this event if I just work real hard at it? Never knowing how far I would go with it. First, I was doing it just because it was fun. I loved what I was doing. The decathlon, for me, was intriguing for a lot of reasons. I ran my first one in 1970. I was a sophomore in college. And after, for so many years of playing football and basketball, running track, and doing all these different things, I ran my first decathlon. I said, you know what, if there is an event that's got my name on it, this is it. You know what, I consider myself a pretty good little athlete. Not the greatest thing in the world, I'm okay, but I'm a good athlete. This is, for me, the ultimate test of an athlete. If you think an athlete should be able to run, jump, and throw. Not only does it test your abilities to run 4 different races, the 100 meters, the 400 meters, the 1500 meters, and 110-meter high hurdles. It tests your ability to throw. You throw a shot, you throw a discus, you throw a javelin. It tests your ability to jump. You got to jump long in the long jump, you got to jump high in the high jump, and you got to jump with a pole in your hand. And not only that, you can look and compare your times and distances all the way back in time to guys like Jim Thorpe. Test your skills against Jim Thorpe, against Bob Mathias, won in 48 and 52. This event to me was so challenging because I wanted to just see how good I could become at this. Well, that was pretty much the attitude I had from day one when I ran my first decathlon. And in 1972, I tried to make it to the Olympic trials. Now, I went to a small school, a big track school. I went to a little place called Graceland College in Lamoni, Iowa. There's me one Iowan in the back, but I guess they're going to keep it quiet. They don't want anybody to know. But it's okay if you're from Iowa. That's all right. We won't embarrass you by making you blood or anything, especially from Graceland or over here at Graceland. It is a small school. But lo and behold, I went to the trials in 1972. I made the qualifying standard. At that time, it was 7,600 points, and the Drake Relay scored 7,678 points. But I went to the trials. Now, I went to the trials with absolutely no expectations. There was a list of the top 10 guys they thought had a chance to make it on the team. Top 3 go, as we know in the Olympic trials. I looked at the list and I wasn't even mentioned in the top 10. So I thought, hey, that's great. What's the pressure on everybody else? Not on me. I can just go out there and have a good time, compete the best I possibly can. So maybe by 1976, 4 years from now, if I'm still doing this, maybe my name will be on that list of the guys that they think have a chance to make it on the team. Well, here I wasn't even mentioned in the top 10. First day, or the first 5 events, ran through the first 5 events. There I was sitting, firmly in 11th place. I thought maybe these guys do know what they're talking about because I'm sitting firmly in 11th place. So I go out there the second day, I got nothing to lose. All I do, I put my hands on the line. First event, the hurdles. I'm thinking, well, just, get a good race in here. Let's see how. Second day is my better day. I think I can pick up a few places. So I put my hands on the line. First event, the hurdles. Boom, ran the race. Ooh, it was a good time. My time was so good at moving from 11th right back to 11th place. Didn't make a move at all. 4 events to go. I'm sitting in 11th place. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. Next event, discus. Boom, threw the best throw of my life. I'm like, oh man, a great throw. Hit it on my last throw. Boom, hit the thing. So that had to help some. And it sure did. It moved me from 11th place. The best throw of my life moved me to 10th. So there I was sitting firmly. I broke into the top 10. 3 events to go. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. I go to the pole vault. I wound up jumping well. Moved from 10th to 7th place. Ooh, I go to the javelin. Boom, threw it far enough. Moved from 7th to 5th. With the last event to go, the 1,500 meters. Now, wait a second. I'm all of a sudden, I'm out in the middle of Eugene, Oregon. I'm out in the middle of the stadium. I'm sitting 5th place. Top 3 make it on the Olympic team. 1,500 meters, a good event for me. I better take this serious. Wait a second. Oh, now I better start looking and see where everybody's out. So I get my little piece of paper out, and I looked, and I saw, I'm trying to figure out where everybody else is at. I didn't really know their scores, but I knew my score. And I started figuring this out, and I knew this guy named Steve Goff was in 3rd place. I knew something about Steve. Steve wasn't very good in the 1,500 meters. My gosh, what if I could run fast enough? Sneak in the 3rd. No, can't happen. I'm enjoying myself. So I look on this little piece of paper. I calculate if he is under the breakoff point, where my points were and where his points were, in his best times and my best time, if he is just under 7,300 points, going into the 1,500 meters, I got a chance to catch him. If he's below 7,300, I got a chance. If he's above it, I don't think I have enough. I think he's too far ahead. 1st and 2nd place were gone. Jeff Bannister, they were on the team. So I get back down there and I start looking. I start calculating. 7,300 is the breakoff point. So remember, it's plain as day. I'm laying there in the grass, hands folded, looking down into the grass, and I'm listening to the PA system. And I'm hearing, Jeff Bannister scores, Jeff Bennett scores. They're way out ahead. I don't even care. I'm thinking, Steve Goff, my ears are tuned. Please, be under 7,300 points. And let me tell you, I got a race here. What's his score? The announcer, Steve Goff, 3rd place, 7,298 points. Oh, man, let me tell you. Boom, I jumped up. Immediately, my heart went from like 70 to 170 right there standing. Boom, 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 boom. For the first time, in black and white, there it was. I figured out, I took a scribble on a piece of paper. I've got to beat him by 18 seconds in the 1,500 meters to make it on the team. Got to beat him by 18 seconds. All right, now his best time and my best time were like 14 seconds difference. So, if he runs his best time, I got to run 4 or 5 seconds faster than I've ever run before in my life, and maybe, just maybe, I can sneak on the team. My heartbeat was pounding so hard, okay, I'm standing there in the middle of this field, and all of a sudden, I had a chance. I was standing here, making it on the Olympic team was right there in front of me. All I had to do was reach out and grab it and pull it in. It was mine. I went through every emotion for the next 15 minutes. I started crying at times. I started laughing at times. I just didn't know how to do it. My heartbeat, I was pulsating so fast. I started hyperventilating. I got dizzy. My hands and feet started feeling like pins and needles. My toes were feeling like pins and needles, like they're going to sleep. Then my hands went to sleep. They went numb, totally numb. I'm thinking, oh my God, here it is, the biggest race of my life, and I'm falling apart. I'm not even going to make it to the starting line. So finally, and I went in, I got a rub down, I'm laying on the thing, and I'm just emotional. I'm thinking, if I've got to crawl, I'm going to go fast enough to beat this guy by 18 seconds. But you got to have, and you guys are runners, you know this, you got to have some. I watch ABC. Now, I've never been in big races before in my life, and here I am at the Olympic trials from a little town in Iowa, and here I am at the Olympic trials. And I've, heard Jim McKay talk about this guy's got that type of strategy, this guy's got that type of strategy. These guys all have their strategies. And me, I'm thinking, okay, now what do I do? What do I do in this race? What's my strategy going to be in this race? Well, there was this great runner in there, a guy named Jeff Bennett, who was already on the Olympic team, but he'd run 4:05 in the 1,500 meters. A great 1,500 meter man. Just a great athlete. So my theory was, I'm just going to get in there and follow this guy all the way around. I had no idea what I was going to do. Just follow this guy, and hopefully he can pull me around to winning this race, Steve Goff's in the race, Jeff Bennett, Jeff Bannister. The whole group, the 6 of us, bang, done goes off. Now this time, I had my best time at that time was 4:24. in the 1,500 meters. Gun goes off, I ran the first lap right on pace. And I'm looking right at the small of Jeff's back. And I'm just running as easy and as relaxed as I possibly can. I'm looking at the small of his back, and I'm thinking to myself, don't use any energy. Just don't use any energy. Just look there, let him pull you along, okay? Any muscle that doesn't have to be used to keep up with this guy, don't use it. Just use the muscles you need. Relax. Go. Flow with everything, you know? So Jeff, we go around the first lap, we come to the 400-meter mark, and in the decathlon, they give you your laps, your pace laps. And so I look at the inside, and the time's okay, and we come around the halfway point in the race. Now I'm looking at the small of Jeff's back, and I'm trying to run as easy, as relaxed as I possibly can. I slowly looked at the inside of the track, and the time on the timer was a little bit slower than I wanted the pace to be at that point. Well, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm halfway through the race. This guy, Steve Goff, I've got to beat him by 18 seconds. I'm running as easy and as relaxed as I possibly can. I better look and see where he is. I slowly looked over my shoulder, looked back. There he was, right behind me, looking at the small on my back, running as easy and as relaxed as he possibly can. So what do? What do you do in a situation like this? I yelled to Jeff in front of me. I said, "Kick the pace up, big guy, you know, let's go." So he starts picking the pace up, and I'm still running around the race, and I'm coming by, which would be the finish line. And I'm thinking to myself, do I have 1 lap or 2 laps to go? Because I felt good. You know, I felt pretty good at this point. And I'm thinking, do I have 1 lap or 2 laps to go? Because I lost track. I'm thinking of everything else but where I was in the race. And so I'm looking at the guy, and the guy's on the inside of the track. He's holding the bell. And I'm thinking, if he rings that bell 1 lap, I'm gone. It's the games. It's everything. Ding, ding, ding as I go by. Scariest part of the race happened. My strategy went all to hell. I passed Jeff like he was standing still. And I never beat this guy in a race, let alone pass him with 400 meters to go. I ran into the first turn just starting to sprint. And I hate to say it, even after the race is over with to this day, I cannot even remember. I didn't even remember running the backstretch or the final turn. I don't even remember. I was running so scared, I forgot to even think what I was doing at the time. You know? But fortunately, I didn't cut the track. You know, because I had a videotape of it that I actually went all the way around. I just don't even remember being there. I was just running as hard as I can. I couldn't even remember being there. But I can remember the last thing was about 20 yards from the finish line. I heard the announcer over the PA system, because I got to beat Goff by 18 seconds. I hear the announcer over the PA system, I'm running as hard as I can. It says, it looks like Jenner is going to be our 3rd man. Ooh, that had a ring to it, you know? Oh, that had a ring to it. Felt good, you know, gave me a little spurt. Got to the finish line, hands went up in the air, screamed back, and I'm slowing down, and I just, to myself, I'm thinking all I wanted to do at this point was sit down. I had just run 8 seconds faster than I'd ever done before. At that time, it was 4:16, 1,500 meters. You know, my fastest race ever. And all I wanted to do, I was physically tired, but also I was emotionally tired. It was over with. There was nothing left on anything I could do. That last half hour was just full of active emotions. And I remember playing tug-of-war with my arm. This guy, I'm trying to sit down. He's trying to pull me up. I'm trying to sit down. We're pulling me up. And finally, as he's pulling my arm up, I look back down underneath my arm, and I look back down the track. I see Goff still coming in. Ooh. This guy was trying to hold me up. I'm picking him up now, you know? I'm running around. You know, it was such an experience. To me, that was the biggest athletic thrill of my life. Even winning the games 4 years down the line was the biggest athletic thrill because I never thought I could do it. I came from nowhere to realizing that somewhere deep down inside of me, there's a giant that lives down there that has potential to do great things if you put your mind to it. The games in 1972 for me were an overwhelming experience. First of all, they never expect me to make it on the team. I make it on the team. So they certainly don't expect me to do anything at the games. So there's no pressure on me. I can go there. Hey, I can enjoy myself now, you know? So I can go there, have a good time, enjoy the games, see what the games are all about. Well, I go to the games, man, and let me tell you, I was awestruck by what was happening. The competition for me was fun. Wound up 10th place in the competition. Had a great meet, scored well, got in the top 10 in the world for a little old guy, you know, just my 10th decathlon of my life, a relative beginner. I was 22 years old. I got 10th in the world. I was pleased with the performance. But the most significant thing happened after the competition was over with. It wasn't during the competition. The most significant thing happened when I stood up on the side, and for the first time, I sort of stood up in the shadows up in the stadium, and I watched for the first time, live and in person, up close and personal, an Olympic gold medal ceremony. I watched Nikolai Ovilov of the Soviet Union just win the Olympic Games in the decathlon. I was 10th place. He was a godlike figure to me. I mean, this guy scored 8,454 points, broke the world record that day under electronic timing, tough conditions. He goes out there, breaks the world record, wins the Olympic Games in the decathlon. I stood up on the side and watched him receive his Olympic gold medal. He stood up there, he looked so proud. He turns around, they play the Soviet national anthem. I'm sitting off on the side, and I said, wait a second, this is pretty heavy stuff. just what if I do this? What if I take the next 4 years of my life, and every day, every second that I have for the next 4 years of my life, I just test myself to see how good I can become at this. He's standing on top of a platform. It's a white platform in the middle of the stadium in Munich, Germany. I fixed on it. I said, that's what I want, right there. I never expected to get this far. Who knows where I'm going to go in the future. But you know what? I'm going to take the next 4 years of my life and do everything from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to sleep tonight, just to see how good I can become at this event. So maybe 4 years from now, maybe I can stand on top of that platform. I'm 22, I'll be 26. Then I'll retire and go on with my life. But the last meet I'll run will be the games in 1976, if I make it that far. But the last meet I'll run will be the games in 1976. I went back to my room. I'm laying down in my room in the village. I have this vision of Avilov standing on top of that platform. And I already made a commitment to myself. And what I realized, first thing we have to do in trying to fulfill our goals is we have to take our dreams and turn them into some concrete decisions in life. I made a decision. I just didn't want the dream. I made a decision I'm going after that dream. Not to anybody else, but down deep inside where that champion lives. Take your dreams and turn them into decisions. Once you make some concrete decisions in your life and you know exactly what you want, there it is, standing right in front of me. I got it in my mind, and it'll be there for the next 4 years. Now, things start happening. I'm laying there in bed, 11 o'clock at night, just finished running the decathlon for the last 2 days, and I have this vision of Avilov standing on that platform. I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to do everything I can do to try to go out there and win the games come 4 years from now. What happens now? Immediately you start to take action. I'm laying there, my heart's pounding hard. I mean, it just go boom. And as I'm laying there, and the heart's pounding, I'm thinking, man, the adrenaline's flowing, and it's 11 o'clock at night, all of a sudden I hear this clock ticking in my head. Seconds are going by. Every time a second goes by, I can't get that second back. I've lost it. All of a sudden now, time's my enemy. I only got 4 years. What am I doing laying in bed? I get out of bed, throw the sheets off, put my running shorts on, put my shirt on, 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm out. I'm on the streets of Munich, Germany. Boom, I did a 5-mile run that night. Just boom, I was gone. I felt so good. It was cool. It was 11 o'clock. It felt so good. I said, man, this is it. All I have is this vision of him. I'm going to do everything I can do for the next 4 years. I made some decisions in my life, but also now, after those decisions, I'm taking action. I'm going after it. That was pretty much the obsession from that day on. Every day I woke up knowing exactly what I wanted out of that day. Just get that one little inch, get that little bit stronger, run a little bit faster. Now, first of all, at that time I was living in Iowa. You know what? They're not building Olympic champions in Iowa. Okay, first thing I got to do is I got to get out of Iowa, I mean, they're not building big track guys in Lamoni, Iowa. So I got to get out of Iowa, I got to go someplace. So I started looking around the United States. It's like the mastermind principle. Find out what you want to do and become in life and go and associate with those people that are doing it. Just like everybody in this room. A lot of energy. I wanted that energy every day. So I looked around the United States, tried to find the perfect place to go train for the next 4 years. Found San Jose, California. We had, in fact, in 1976, a couple of years later, we had 3 gold medals, a silver and a bronze. We placed 5th as a country in track and field. We had 9 people on the Olympic team from San Jose in track and field. A great place to train. I mean, great athletes. And me, being a decathlete, they had the greatest shot putters in the world. They were with Al Feuerbach and Brian Oldfield and all these guys. They had the greatest discus throwers with Mac Wilkins and John Powell and all these guys. You wanted the pole vault, you go with Dan Ripley pole vaulting. He was an 18-foot vaulter in town. Whatever you wanted, they were there, And it was a great place for a guy like me who wanted to run around and do everybody's workout all day long. So it was a perfect place for me to go train. But the first day I got into San Jose, I realized things were different. Now, in Lamoni, Iowa, I was pretty strong. Made it on the Olympic team. Hey, I go to the weight room. I can handle anyone, I did there weights with all the guys. I go to San Jose. First day of training. Training's done. Everybody says, let's go to the weight room. Okay, let's go. Strong. Get out there. We go to the weight room at the Y where everybody trained. I walk into the room, and as I walk into the room, on the far wall with his back to me was a gorilla. Okay, this guy was the biggest human being I'd ever seen in my life. Okay, he's over there, and he's got so much weight on the bar. He's doing squats. He's got so much weight on the bar that they can't even put the collar on the end. The plates were so far all the way at the end. They had to have a person like holding their fingers on the end because the bar. There's so much weight. The bar's bending. These guys got their little fingers trying to hold the weight on the side. And this guy's doing sets of 10. And he's going zoom, up, down, with like over 700 pounds, sets a 10, zoom, zoom, he's going up, and I'm saying, oh my God, you know, I can't go over there, you know, I'm certainly not going to go to that part of the room, okay. So I look around, you know, put my spindly little body on that, I'm going right through the floor. So I start looking around, and so I glance on the other side of the gym, and there's this girl, Marion Seidler, you know. So I figure, I'm going over this side of the gym, I'm going to go lift with the girls on this first day, you know. Marion Seidler was a shot putter on the team, big girl, strong girl, but long story short, she out-squatted me that day. And I said, oh my God, things have changed. I thought I was pretty strong, and the girls were outlifting me in San Jose, you know. So first of all, I had to change my definition of what strong is, what fast is. Things had changed. By the way, the guy lifting the weight was Mac Wilkins, who eventually went on to win the Olympic Games in the discus. Great athletes, but you know, all of a sudden I had to set my sights higher. It's like you're working and you're trying to set your time in this mini marathon at a certain pace, but next year you want to go up to the next pace. You want to go up to the next level. How do we get to that next level? That's the tough part. How do we get to that next level? You got to be taking action on your dreams. You got to go after it. You got to work hard. You got to spend the time. But things have to change. You have to constantly be flexible. I was always flexible with training what I was trying to accomplish. 1974 was the first year I really had a chance to train outdoors all year long. Got ranked #1 in the world, and for the first time I could realistically look at standing on top of that platform. So in 1974 I made up a little slogan, 85 in 75, 86 in 76. My little slogan I made up seemed to work. 1975, I wanted to score 8,500 points. At that time, the world record was Avi Loss at 8,454 points. And then 1976, I'd have to score 8,600 points. 1975 season comes up. Training harder than I've ever trained before. I trained 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, physically on the track, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. Never took a day off. Trained, worked, I was stronger, I was ready. I said, okay, this is my year, 1975. I want to get the world record, be the first guy over 8,500 points, and then establish myself as the favorite going into the games in 1976. I go to the first competition, stronger, in better shape than I've ever been before. I knew I was ready for a big meet. I went there, scored 8,000 at the Drake relay, scored 8,250 points. Not my 8,500, but 8,250, that's okay. It's a good starter for the year. I run maybe 3 or 4 decathlons, 3 decathlons a year. It's my first one. I got a couple more to go. Not to really worry. Everything's okay, but you know, 8,250 points. I'm able to beat the competition. Haven't lost a meet in 2 years by 300, 400 points. I'm beating everybody, but I'm not getting personally what I want. That was 8,500 points. I go to the next meet. Good shape, ready to go. Scored 8,278 points. Whoa, wait a second, hold it. I've done everything that the book says. I've worked harder, I've spent more time, I'm in better shape, I know I'm physically in better shape. I've done everything that the book says, but I've worked an entire year right to get back to the exact same level I was at the year before. How do I get to the next level? Levels that nobody's ever been to, nobody's ever scored 8,500 points in the history of this world. How do I get up here? I'm stuck here, at this level. I started thinking to myself, wait a second. You know, you spend a lot of time and work, you put a lot of energy in this thing, but, you know, you're no different than anybody else. You're just a human being. You know, I'm not that great athlete. I'm an okay athlete, but I know how to work hard. And I've worked very hard for this. But maybe this is my level, 82, maybe 8,300 points, because I'm no special human being. You know, I'm nothing different than anybody else sitting out in this room. Maybe that's my level. I thought I was thinking to myself, wait a second, let's keep this whole thing in proper perspective. You know? I was doing all sorts of other things in life, and family things, and work, and this and that. I was working at the time. Actually, I was in the insurance business at the time. Just sort of, well, put it this way. I spent as much time in the insurance business as the average insurance man spends training for the decathlon. I thought it was fair. I mean, if these insurance salesmen want to start training more, that's fine, you know. So I wanted, you know, be a well-rounded human being, you know, almost. I would go to the competitions, and you know what? I would want to do well. I would do like everybody in this room. I would get to the starting line. I would be excited. I would want to do well. But down deep inside, I knew something was missing. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Didn't know what it was, and it scared me. I was scared. I go to the next meet, our national championships down in Santa Barbara. Get my hands on the starting line, the first event, the 100 meters, and you know, I was excited, but you know, I knew something was missing. I worked so hard. I'm at the same level, and you know, I'm winning, you know, something's wrong. So anyway, I run the 100 meters, ran the first day, 100 meters, long jump, shot put, high jump, 400 meters. First day of competition. Doing okay, I'm gonna score maybe 82, maybe 8,300 points. Not gonna get my 8,500 points. I'm right back at this level. I get back the second day, get my hands on the line, start the second day, excited, but something down there is missing. I don't know what it is. I'm just off kilter here. Hurdles, boom, run the hurdle race, throw the discus, everything's going along pretty smoothly, and I get to the vault. The 8th event in the competition. Event I started out in high school as a pole vaulter. My best event, I'll go 16 feet right around there, somewhere in there, and it's a good event, gets me more points than any other. So I would warm up with the bar, usually around 15 feet, take a couple of jumps, which I did. Everything's in good shape, I'm ready to go. Well, because you're starting at a high height, there's a lot of decathletes that have to take their jumps, and so it's probably 2 hours, 3 hours before I actually take my opening height jump. And what I would do, since you obviously have to make the opening height in the vault, I would take the bar and I'd warm up at 15, but I would take my first jump at 14 feet. Easy jump, made it in high school. Not a tough jump, just to get a jump in and then raise the bar. Get that first one out of the way and takes the pressure off it. So I put my foot on the line, I got the bar at 14 feet, and I'm ready to go. I come flying down the runway on my first attempt, plant the pole, steps off, couldn't even get off the ground. One miss. Whoa, oh. Now I've had the same steps for like the last 8 years. What happened here? And they were fine warming up. Now all of a sudden they're off. I'm a little concerned. Heart's coming up a little bit. Adrenaline's starting to pump a little bit. I'm thinking, well, just go the opposite direction, remeasure my steps, see if maybe I started in the wrong place. Maybe somebody moved my mark or something happened. So I put, sure enough, I started at the right place. So I get my foot on the starting line of the second attempt, it lands in the pole, and I'm thinking, well, I got 2 attempts, it's not a big deal. Flying down there, second attempt, now I'm getting a little more aggressive, plant the pole, steps are off, couldn't even get off the ground, 2 misses, and I haven't even left the ground yet. Now my heartbeat's really going up, the adrenaline's really starting to flow here. So wait a second, I'm trying to stay undefeated for the last 4 years, the last 3 years of my career and not lose a meet. And I said, here I am. I'm thinking about scoring 8,500 points. I'm down here 82. Something's wrong. I can't put my finger on. All these things are going through my head, and now I'm struggling with the opening height in the vault. This is ridiculous. I do everything that the book says. I run the opposite direction. I do everything that it says to try to get your steps back on. I finally get down at the end of the runway, third attempt, final attempt, I've got to get over it. All right, I'm thinking just muscle your way over it. Whatever you got to do, just get over the bar. Flying down there, third attempt, flying down there as aggressive as I can. Boom, plant that pole, steps off. Barely got off the ground. Boom, landed in the pit, third miss. I just lost, basically. I remember yelling a few words, probably shouldn't have, but seemed rather appropriate at the time. Pole was in my hand, boom, the pole was gone. Usually don't show too much emotion. Stamped out of the pit, ran across the infield, ran across the track on the far side of the stadium, found a door, boom, I'm out the stadium, I'm gone. I find this big clump of trees outside the stadium. I sit there for the next half hour and I just cried my eyes out. Devastated about what had just happened. And it wasn't just not making the height. It was, I worked harder than I've ever worked before for something, and I'm right at the exact same level I was the year before. I can't get to the next level. What's wrong? I'm not that great of an athlete. Everybody else is a better athlete. All these things are going through my head. The games are a year away. I can feel the pressure of the games coming down on me. And my head is like spinning. I'm sitting there, I'm crying my eyes out. I just lost this meet. How stupid. Finally, I got my composure, went back into the stadium, grabbed all my stuff, put it on my little Volkswagen, and I drove back to San Jose. Next couple of days, I was trying to sort of figure out what had just happened. And usually do a couple of easy runs the week after just to sort of get yourself coming back from the meet the week before. And I was up at Stanford on the golf course. We used to run a lot up at Stanford. And with my good old training buddy Vince and my dog Bertha, the 3 of us were jogging along there. And we finally stopped, we were stretching out. And so we started talking about what had happened a few days earlier with not making the height in the vault and all these other things that are going through my head and on and on and on. And it's funny how in life, it doesn't have to be some major statement in life. It doesn't have to be, but for some reason, when something comes to your brain, it clicks. And that's exactly what happened. Vince says, I'll tell you what, he says, Bruce, since we're talking about this, he says, let me fire a couple of questions at you. Hey, Vince, go ahead. He says, well, the games are a year away, almost to the day. The games are a year away. He says, first of all, do you want to win the games? Oh, Vince, wait, hold it. Do I want to win the games? Vince, it's you, it's me, we're out here 16 hours a day, every day, we're training. We're working our little tails off for this thing. Do I want to win the games? Of course I want to win the games. Of course I want to do well. He says, I'll tell you what. He says, all right. He says, let me rephrase the question. And it was a simple question, but for some reason it hit. He said, is winning the Olympic Games the most important thing in your life? Oh, is it the most important thing in my life? Wait. I don't insurance business going, thinking about being family, friends, be a well-rounded human being, don't put all your eggs in this one basket, you know, it's scary, all these other things. I said, this is the most important thing in my life, to win the games. Whoa. I said, I got to think about that, Vince. I'll be back. So I get up, and I'm running on this grass, beautiful golf course with my dog. I'm jogging along, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to answer that question. I got a little soul searching here to answer that question. What is my commitment level? How committed am I to winning? I got to answer these questions. What if I say, to answer that simple question, is the most important thing in my life? What if I say, no, it isn't the most important thing in my life? I'm thinking about the insurance business, family, friends, relatives, trying to be a well-rounded human being, all these things going through my head. What if I say, no, it isn't the most important thing in my life? Think about it before you say no. The food you consume every day is food for energy so you can go and train. Physically, you spend 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week on the track. The time you're not physically on the track, you're thinking about what you should be doing when you're on the track, or you're thinking about competition coming up. At night when you sleep, you dream about technique, you dream about competition, okay? If you say this isn't the most important thing in your life, big fella, well, right now in your life there just isn't too much else going on. So if you say no, it isn't the most important thing in your life, you're kidding yourself. But what if we make that commitment level to ourselves and we take it to the next level and we say yes? Before I could say yes, because if you say yes, what happens if you go to the games and you lose? Do you die? Is it like over with?
Yeah, thank you.
I felt down deep inside I had to say yes. Where that little champion lives down deep inside, I had to say yes. But to say yes, I had to dig down a little bit deeper into my soul and say, you know what? I'm a good enough human being. I'm smart enough, I got family, I got friends, I've got all this sort of stuff. I'm a good enough human being that, you know what, if I fail, I will recover. Oh, it might be really tough to recover, but you know what, it might take me a day to recover, it might take me a week, it might take me 10 years of my life to recover from failure, not winning the games and getting second place on down. But you know what, I will recover. Life will go on, life will be good. I'm smart enough, I got enough things going for me, it'll be okay. What I have to do today is I have to prepare myself to win a year from the games. I've got to prepare myself to win. So I'm back to Vince. And I sat down with Vince. And I'm sitting there and I'm stretching out. I finished the stretch and I said, okay, answer that question. I said, yeah. I said, winning the games is the most important thing in my life. Whoa! As soon as I said that, my stomach, boom, turned right over. My adrenal glands started pumping out adrenaline. My heartbeat went up 200 beats, it seemed like. I'm sitting there on this golf course in Sanford, and I realized what I had to do to take it to the next level. And I had to make I had to make a greater commitment to myself about winning. Not to anybody else, not to friends, family, down deep inside where that champion is, I had to make a greater commitment to myself that I will recover from failure. But what I have to prepare myself to do, and what I have to go after, I have to prepare myself to win. Failure will take care of itself, and I can deal with that. I have to prepare myself to win. I went back to the next meet, which was 3 weeks later. It was against the United States. It was the United States against the Soviet Union and Poland. There was a guy there named Nicole Brown from the Soviet Union. Last time I saw this human being was 3 years earlier, standing on top of a platform in Munich, Germany. He was there. He was the world record holder at 8,454 points. He was the defending Olympic champion. I was the world record, I was the ranked #1 in the world at that time. It was going to be a great battle. But when I got my hands on the starting line, the first event, the 100 meters, I knew exactly what I wanted out of life. I was committed. There was no more hesitation anymore like there was before. No more second guessing. My stomach was turning over. The adrenal glands were pumping, the heart's going, and everything, every emotion in my body was going to score points. Was going to go straight ahead to score points. Scored 8,524 points that day. Broke the world record. But more importantly, I learned what down deep inside about commitments. That was the attitude that I had to have for that final year. It had to be an all or none principle. I had to go after it. I knew that that was the exact attitude. So I got my 85 and 75 and really established myself as the leader going into the games. But as it gets closer and closer to the games, and the training, fortunately, that winter went very strong. It was a great winter. Everything went well. The tougher it gets, I mean, let me tell you, the games. It's the big granddaddy. It's the biggest pressure cooker there is out there. I don't know anything that I'll ever go through in the rest of my life that'll ever be the pressure of something like that. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I felt pressure 9 months before the games, family, friends, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins are buying tickets to go to Montreal. They're renting recreational vehicles. They're going to go across the United States, picking up Jenners as they go across the United States on this wagon train, as this wagon train goes to the games to all congregate in Montreal on the 29th and 30th of July in 1976. And they're going to congregate there, and they're going to sit up in the stands to watch Bruce win. Oh. Well, you see, I didn't make it on the team until about 6 weeks before the games, meaning I knew for about 8 months. Family, friends, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins will all be in Montreal. I may not be there. I still have to make it on the team. Fortunately, made it through the trials and went on to the games. The pressure came down the worst about 5 days before the actual competition. I sat there in my room and watched. We had this little closed-circuit TV set of all the competitions that were going on. And I had it tuned in to the pole vault competition, which was going on live in the stadium as I was sitting there. And I stood there, or sat there in my room and watched the greatest pole vaulter in the world, unanimous by every track rider in the world, to win the Olympic Games in the vault. He was the world record holder. He was jumping between 18 feet, 18.6 every day in practice. I mean, this guy's the hottest pole vaulter in the world. And I sat there in my room and watched Dave Roberts, the greatest vaulter in the world, get the bronze medal. 3rd place. Why? It's not because he wasn't the best vaulter in the world, but because of something else. Rain, pouring down rain. He jumped at a lower height, past the next height to go what he thought would be the winning height. Well, there's a 45-minute spread in there where other guys take jumps and this and that. 45 minutes go by. 5 minutes before he goes out, the skies open up, pouring down rain. He's got to take his 3 jumps at the winning height in a rainstorm. He obviously doesn't make it, winds up with the bronze medal. Every day I dreamed about the games. It was a beautiful sunny day. All of a sudden, for the first time, I did not feel in control. Maybe Mother Nature's in control of my destiny. Maybe somebody else is in control. It scared me. I didn't feel in control. I said, wait a second, I just spent the last 12 years of my life preparing for this moment. How much time and energy I spent, how much I wanted to win. This is the last meet. I'm never going to compete again after this competition is over with. I'm retired, going on with life. I said, this is the last meet of my life. How much personally I wanted to do well and to win. But I thought, wait a second, hold it. I got to carry myself through this thing. There's 65 people up in the stands with yellow Go Jenner Go t-shirts on. Family, friends, relatives. I got to get myself through this thing. I got to get all my friends through this. You know, I got to take family and friends, and I got to carry them through this competition too. Oh man, it's not feeling very good. You know, I'm thinking, whoa, I don't know if I can handle this. And then I'm thinking, wait a second, what is 1976? What was 1976? Our bicentennial, yes, they remember. I mean, this is July of 1976, fireworks are going off, USA, yay, you know, and I got USA across my chest. I got to get myself through this thing. I got to carry my family, my friends through this thing. I got to carry the whole country through this thing. This is no fun. I don't want to be here. I want to go home, man. This is really not that much fun. So I get out of the room. I can't take it any longer. I get out of the room. I get out of the room and I walk outside and I lean up against this railing. I was on like the 3rd floor. And I'm looking out across the practice track, which is about a half mile away, onto the Olympic Stadium, which is about a mile away. And the stadium, I mean, it looks beautiful lit up at night, but the rains are coming down, pouring. I'm thinking, inside that stadium right now is Dave Roberts, the greatest pole vaulter in the world, with the bronze medal. He's got to be so disappointed with that. And he can never change it. It's over with him. It's done. He had the potential to win. Rain took it away. I thought about how much I wanted to win. Family, friends, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. I got to get the whole country. It's like no fun. Just about that time, a friend of mine was walking by. Pete Smock, he was a shot putter on the team, 270 pounds, big guy. And he sort of sees me, also from San Jose, so I trained with a guy, we know each other really well. He goes walking by and he sort of sees me staring out into this rainy night. As he goes by, he gives me a big boom, pat on the back and said, hey Bruce, you got to carry us now. Oh my God, these legs, all those years of lifting, they were like buckling underneath me. I said, oh man, I'm not going to make it through this thing. I don't know if I can make it through this thing. Right then, my mind went like that. I said, hold it. From this point on, the games are not a physical challenge, because physically the work was done. To me, the games now are a mental challenge. Physically, the homework was done. I had run the miles, I had lifted the weights, I had done all the technique. Physically, I was ready. No aches or pains, nothing, you know, no colds, no nothing. Everything's ready physically. Now it's a mental game. 80% a mental game. When that gun goes off in the 100 meters, am I instantaneously going to be out of that box? Physically, I'm capable of doing that. Am I going to keep my technique all the way through that race? Just before I get ready to throw the shot, is somebody talking off on the side going to disrupt my thinking, and all of a sudden I don't get the throw? I am capable of getting low, putting my body behind that shot, and getting rid of it. What about the 400 meters? Because this is the last race of my life. Am I going to go out so fast in the first 200 that I die in the second 200? If I keep my technique and I keep my head screwed on straight, I can run a very fast 400 meters. Day before the games, rain all day. Forecast rain for the first day. Got a little sleep. Woke up the next morning, looked outside. Overcast, but at least it wasn't raining. Think, whoa, let's just get this thing started. So I grab all my stuff and I start walking down towards the practice track to warm up. And I'm thinking, today's the day. It is here. It's the 29th of July, 1976. It's here. I've been dreaming about this, eating it, sleeping it for so long, since 1972. It's finally here. The day's here. It's time to open it up and let it go. I go down to the practice track and I start warming up. And for 4 years, I wondered, how am I going to feel that morning? Trained for 4 years to peak on that day. That morning, not the next day, not the day after that. That morning was the morning I had to peak. And all my training centered around that for 4 years, to peak on that morning. How am I going to feel? How are the legs going to feel? You're going to have a little cold and aches or pain. How's it going to be? So I get down and I start warming up. I start doing my little strides and stuff like this. And oh, the legs felt good. They just felt like so springy and bouncy. And God, oh yes, this is the way I wanted to feel, So I get out and I go to the trailer. They had a trailer set up where you can get massages and rubs down, this and that. So I get in there and I get all rubbed down. I got stretched out, loosened up, and this and that. And I walk out of the trailer and I was on a little platform like this before we walked out onto the practice track. And I guess you could say the scene was set. There were all the great decathletes in the world on that practice track, ready to go to that Olympic stadium and do battle. It was Abilov, the guy I saw standing on top of the platform in 1972. Litvinenko took the silver from the Soviet Union. Katus from Poland took the bronze. They were all back. Guido Kretschmer from West Germany, another great decathlete. Fred Dixon, Fred Samara, the other two Americans, they were all on that practice track ready to go do battle. I said, hey, I'm ready, let's go. Grab all my stuff, start walking down towards the stadium. Finally, get inside the stadium. When I walked in, I just felt good. It just felt like home. I had visualized and thought about every move I had to make once I got inside that stadium. And when I got in there, it looked exactly the way I had dreamed about it for 4 years. It was like coming home. It wasn't that difficult. I mean, the track was old, the runways were still straight and stuff. But it's still in my mind, it's just like fit. I get there, and the scariest event is that 100 meters. Because for 4 years, you wonder, how are you going to feel? How's that first event? 100 meters? Man, it's time. Put your hands on the starting line. Boom, gun went off. Boom, end the race. Here's the tape. And the race felt good, but the better part is when I actually had a hard time slowing down. I thought, woo, now that's a good feeling. Like it doesn't want to stop. Okay, I can't slow down. Finally, put the brakes on, boom, got stopped. I got second in my heat, so I had to wait for my time to get put up on the score. Finally, 10 minutes later, they put my time up on the scoreboard. It was the fastest electric timing I'd ever had in my life. My best 100 meters, no wind conditions, early morning. The perfect 100 meters for me. My best time. I thought, whoa, so I started looking at everybody else's time. They were average to below average times. And mine was my best time ever. 100 meters is a critical event. If my speed is on, I'm out of here, I'm gone. I thought, right then, looking at the 100 meters, I just won the games. Now, you don't go around telling anybody that. You don't want to get them upset early in the competition. But in my head, I just won the games. It's over with, guys. You can all go home. It's over with. My speed's on. My legs are fresh. I feel great. Go to the long jump. 5 centimeter jump, farthest I ever jump on my last jump. Same in the shot. Threw an inch farther than I ever throw it. Boom, on my shot. Go to the high jump. By this time, I'm feeling pretty good. Your confidence level is going up. My best jump ever was 6'7". I think that today, 2 meters 3, we're going 6'8" today. Final attempt, I remember down there, 6'8", the bar's at 6'8", put my foot on the line, I'm thinking, this is it. This is the last jump I will ever, high jump I will ever take in my life. What have you learned in these 4 years, or these years of doing this stuff? Get in there, the adrenaline's flowing, it's going, just come in there and do it, boom. Last attempt, right over at 6'8". Yeah. Now, my confidence, I had 4 of my best events in a row. Now your confidence level is really up there. I'm feeling pretty good now. And I knew I was in great 400 meter shape. I'm thinking to myself, oh, my best time ever is 48 flat. Today we're running 47.5. That's my mark, 47.5 in the 400. Hands on the line, boom, ran around, down the back stretch as easy and as fast as I possibly could. And for 3 years, I kept thinking to myself, that second turn in the 400 meters, I am going to run as hard as I possibly can. As soon as I hit the turn, I'm taking off in a sprint. And I get there, I remember seeing that turn coming up, and it was getting closer and closer. I said, as soon as I hit that turn, because a turn will slow you down, I want to pick the pace up in the turn and come off with the turn with whatever I've got left and hold on. I hit the turn just bam, just like somebody shot the gun off in the second 200 meters. Ran that turn as hard as I possibly could. Usually somebody's ahead of me in the 400, but for this reason I ran such a great turn. Nobody was ahead. I'm out by myself. I kept running as hard as I could, kept waiting for somebody to come up. Nobody came up. Boom, I got to the tape, looked up, saw 47.51. I was off by 100th of a second, exactly what I wanted. Now becomes the most difficult time in the game. You had 5 of the best events you could possibly have. Your first day, I could have been 200 points out of the lead and still had a good day. Still could have been able to win the games in the second day. Second day is my strong day. I'm only 35 points out of the lead. Better first day than I expected. So that means you got a potential world record, potential Olympic championship. All right, you got an Olympic record. This is the last meet of your life, and you're supposed to lay there and sleep. Wrong, doesn't work, man. Couldn't sleep. All night long. I'm laying there in my bed, listening to the rains coming down outside. I was waiting for somebody to say rain. I think you're with me on this story. I was ready, and I listened to it. Was pouring outside all night long. I'm laying there counting pole vaulters going over pole vaulters. 1972. At the Games, Jeff Bannister, America's favorite to win the Olympic Games in the decathlon, slipped and fell in the hurdles the first event of the second day because the track was wet. Boom, overdone, down he went. I'm thinking, oh, the track's going to be wet in the morning. First event's the hurdles. It could be raining during the pole vault. Oh, man, I got 5 of the greatest events I've ever had for the first day. I'm way ahead of myself. And the second day, it could be raining. Oh, I don't like this. My heart's pounding so hard all night long. The sheets were bouncing off my chest. You know, it was like, kaboom. And I would sit there and wait for the next contraction. Go, kaboom, and it would go like this, you know. It was a tough night. It was a tough night. I got about 3 hours of sleep. I remember 3 o'clock in the morning was the last time I saw the clock. Next thing I knew, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. Opened my eyes. As soon as I looked outside, it was stopped raining. The clouds were so low they were touching the top of the stadium. That's how bad the day was. And I'm thinking, oh man, just let me get going with the hurdles. Let me get the first event in before it starts raining. So I get down there and start warming up, got the kinks out from the day before, put my, and 2 flights in front of me. Fred Dixon, the other American. The track is wet. Boom, boom, down he went. Oh, scared me to death. My hands on the starting line. I said, man, stay on your toes, keep the spikes into the track, don't slip, don't fall, run the race. Boom, lean at the tape. A good time. I was very pleased with the time. I threw the discus the next event far enough that I was only 9 points out of the lead with the last 3 events to go. Next event's the pole vault. Get down there, opening height. Looked at the bar, it was 14 feet. And that's all I have to do. Make the opening height. You'll win the games. You know you can get enough points in the javelin, you're not going to die in the 1,500 meters. You just make the opening height in the vault. The games are yours. Ooh, the bar looked good. It was low, and it made the height of high school. I'm flying down here first attempt this time. Leaned back, cleared that baby by 3 feet over top of this one. You know? Whoa, baby, we're not going to let this one slip by. Over the top, down the other side. I said, hey, I just won the games. It's over. It's mine. I know I can throw the javelin and run the 1,500 meters. It's mine. That was the last question mark. As I got out of the pit and walked over and grabbed my pole, I started walking back to my thing. I said, wait a second. What about your little slogan, 85 and 75, which you got your 8,500 the year before? But what about 86 and 76? This is the last meet of your life. You got to go for it. Kept raising the bar, jumped well, threw the javelin far enough that by the time I got to the 1,500 meters, the last event, I figured out if I just tie my best time ever in the 1,500 meters, I will just sneak over 8,600 points. Just tie my best time. And then the announcer on the PA system says, and I'm listening there, and he says, at 7 o'clock will be the finals in the 1,500 meters. So I turn around and look up the clock. It was 20 minutes to 7. And then it hit me. In 20 minutes, it's going to be over. I loved what I was doing, and in 20 minutes it's going to be over, and I got to walk away. I don't know if I like this. It was sad. It was a bittersweet kind of moment. It's like learning how to play the piano. You go out there and you, 12 years of your life, every day, you sit in front of that piano for 6 to 8 hours a day and you play that music. And then once the music is, you have a chance to go out in front of the world. You play the most beautiful music the world's ever heard, and then when the song's over with, you put your hands in your pocket and you're never going to touch that piano again. It was sad. I started crying. I never thought I would react like this. I mean, I started really getting emotional. I mean, it was really tough to sort of hold on. And so finally I got my foot on the starting line of the 1,500 meters. And I knew exactly what my pace wanted to be, and I knew what my best times were, and what my pace should be, and everything was in my head. Boom, the gun goes off, and I run the first lap right on pace. I get to the halfway point in the race, boom, I look at the time, exactly where I wanted to be at 800 meters. So I started picking the pace up a little bit. I said, well, you see how it feels. And I'll pick it up a little bit. Ooh, the faster I ran, the better I felt. You know, I said, ooh, that's a good feeling. All right, we got something left here. Come around the next lap. I looked at the inside. With 300 meters to go, I looked at the inside of the clock on the inside of the track, and it was 1 second slower than my fastest pace ever at that point in my race, with 300 meters to go. I thought to myself, what the heck? You got maybe 50, 60 years to recuperate from this thing. Let's make it out, big fella. You know, so boom, I go down the backstretch. I couldn't hear specific sounds, sort of the stadium sort of a roar and the ground kind of tremble underneath your feet. And then I got to the point in the race I always dreamed about. And I always dreamed about the final turn of the 1,500 meters. For some reason, I dreamed about it all the time. I dreamed about just going through that turn. You know, you got that little lean going, you're going into the turn, you're running that turn, and in your back pocket is that gold medal. And it's just a jingling. You know, you can feel it as it's going through there, you know? And I dreamed about that for years. I finally come to the turn. I'm going up on a turn. I said, there it is. That's what I dreamed about all the time, is this final turn. I'm going through the turn. I can hear that jingling in my back pocket. You know, it's feeling good. I felt like sort of stopping, pitching a tent right here. Stop, okay, this is where I want to be, you know. Mentally, I kind of stopped. I didn't physically stop. Mentally, I took a stop. I said, wait a second, remember the moment, hold on. It was like taking little mental snapshots of everything that was going on. And as I'm going through the turn, I said, I want to remember what it looks like coming off the turn. I want to remember how it feels like. Because so quickly it's going to be over when I got to go on with life. And I come off that turn, I remember like taking a little mental snapshot, looking at that final turn, last 100 meters, your butt's burning, your legs are tired, but for some reason those thighs are just to keep them coming up, and just boom, boom, right to the finish line. Got to the finish line, hands went up in the air, screamed so loud, it was like a giant, like I broke my vocal cords. I mean, it was a giant release that I was over with. And as you slowed down, the feeling was, you know what? It's a very personal feeling. It's mine. Nobody can ever take it away. It's a key. You put it in your brain, locked it up, taking the key out. You can never take it away from you. It was yours right then. It was a very personal feeling. The tough part came about 15 minutes later. They had us underneath the stadium, and I really wasn't thinking about it too much, but then they marched us out from underneath the stadium for the ceremony. And as I came out of the building, I looked out, and there in the center of the stadium was a white platform, exactly like the platform was 4 years earlier. I said, there it is. There's the vision. That's what I remember, that platform. That's what it was all about. And they marched myself out. Guido Kreischmann from West Germany took the silver, the bronze went to Avila. And they marched us out behind the center of the stadium, and they put us behind the platform. And I'm looking at the platform, and there's 2 steps to get to the top. And I'm looking at those 2 steps, and those are the last 2 steps of my career. Once I got on top, it's over with, it's done. It was sad. I started crying. I'm thinking, oh man, this is heavy. I mean, I'm leaving something that I love doing. And when I get on top, it's over with, it's done. I'm thinking about how many years of lifting, how many years of technique. For some reason, every time in my life, as you're driving down that road in life, and the road came to a Y, for some reason I went the right direction. That led to this platform, and it's all right behind me, and once I get up on top, it's over with, it's done. Once I got up on top, I felt good. I felt satisfied. Scored 8,634 points, got my last goal, got my 86 and 76. And then the final part of the dream come true was when they played our national anthem. Oh man, because fortunately I was always able to win in my dream. Always play the national anthem. So I stand there, you stand there feeling pretty good, and you're listening to that national anthem, looking around, family, friends, everybody else enjoying it. Those 65 people, thank God, they're all enjoying the moment. And everybody's enjoying it. Seeing so good, you listen to that national anthem, and then just as the national anthem ends, the official walked over to my right and says, okay, you're going to have to get down now. I said, oh, hey, I got nowhere to go, man. I'm kind of enjoying this, So the official gives me a dirty look, and I thought, hey, you don't want to make an international incident out of this thing. Why won't Bruce get off the platform? And I didn't even have a dinner reservation or nothing that night. I was in no rush. So I figured, better jump down. So I jumped down, I walk across the track. I look over my left shoulder, look back to the track as I was walking across and say, hey, thanks for the memories. I had a great time. I leave it to the next guy. I'm going on with life. What did I learn from that experience? I learned that there is such great potential that lives down deep inside of every one of us. I never knew. When I started off as a dyslexic kid, my image of myself was about that big in school. It was really difficult at those times. Little did I know that I found out, because I look at it 2 ways. I look at the athletic body, and I look at the athletic mind. A lot of great athletes, athletic bodies, but then there's also the great athletic minds. I didn't have as good of physical skills, but what I thought was my greatest weakness as a dyslexic kid growing up, and just that simple process of reading, having a difficult time with that, and I thought I was mentally weaker than everybody else, found out my greatest asset was my athletic mind. I was stronger mentally than anybody else. I could come up with the performance. I realized that there is such potential that is just waiting to be tapped in each one of us. If we raise our level of commitment, if we take our dreams, we turn them into some concrete decisions in our life and where we want to be. And always realize that, you know what, there is more down deep inside of each one of us. You know, I compliment you people on what you're doing here. Not only just from the physical aspect of your health and what you're doing, getting out there and moving it, but I compliment you too because you're in what I call the arena. You know, I was in the arena and running the decathlon, but also in what you're doing here, whether it's in the business arena or family, whatever it is. You're in here and you're giving it your all. You got your goals, you work at it, you spend time. And that makes for a worthwhile life. So what I would like to do is, since you're out here, the last thing I would like to leave you with is a quote I heard a long time ago. It was first quoted by Theodore Roosevelt, later quoted by John F. Kennedy. But what he said is, the credit in life goes not to the critic who stands on the sideline, the strong, stumble. But out of the real credit in life goes to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by sweat and dust, who knows great enthusiasm and great devotion, and learns to spend himself in a worthy cause. If he wins, knows the thrill of great achievement. If he loses, at least loses while daring greatly, so that his place in life will never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. It's the journey we're on is the fun part. And the journey you're going to take tomorrow is the fun part. And work a little harder, come back next year. But always realize that there is great potential down there. If you're in the arena, if you're in there working at it, and you're going for it. Sitting on the sideline just isn't going to make it. Because the journey is the reward. I want to thank you very much.
After he answers questions, he's going to be over in the Choice Care booth, and he'll be able to sign a couple autographs for a little while. But right now, if there are any questions for Bruce,
Sure. Hey, before you go running off, anything you got? Or did I cover anything? Yes. Yeah. First of all, as far as kids, our job as adults are to provide kids with opportunities. If they want to run cross country, that's great. If they want to play music, that's great. If they want to do great in school, that's great. Our job is to provide them with the opportunity. I got a lot of kids, 8 kids. It's kind of tough. But, and make it fun. It's always got to be fun. If there's fear involved there, hey, there's fear in everything that you do. I was scared to death going into the games. But what I did, and as a young kid, it's not, they're not old enough and mature enough to really understand that. But what I always did with fear, as they get older, is I always put fear about 3 feet behind me. It never caught me. I never let fear get in front of me. You know, in my head, I would take fear, place it right there, and it would push me. That just made me run better. For a young person, that's hard for them to understand. Don't push them. If they're afraid, that's okay. This is not the end of the world. You know, maybe next week they won't be afraid. You know, I mean, I know kids. Every day is a different day. It's a new day. So just let them enjoy it. Most important thing is fun. The most important thing at that age is just let them have a good time, enjoy it. If they are going to do something, they're going to do it on their own. They're not going to do it because the parents stand there. You know, and that's the sort of the philosophy that I have with my kids. Although the 5-year-olds have a little tough with those 5-mile runs before his Wheaties breakfast. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. But I mean, just let them have some fun. Questions, yeah?
What are you doing to stay fit?
What do I do to stay fit now? I'm an avid mountain biker. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I take, you know what, I have to, let me brag a little bit here. For the last 5 years, I've really taken my fitness a lot more. 4 or 5 years, I've taken my fitness. I always stayed in shape and did this and that, but I really didn't take it that seriously. I rode bikes and this and that. But for the last 4 or 5 years, you know, since I tipped the scales at over 40, I've probably taken it a lot more seriously then. And I turned 45 in October. But I have been riding this hill since I was 30, mountain biking. It's about a 2,000-foot climb and about 3 miles, 2.5, 3 miles. I mean, it's a real grinder, as in mountain biking terms. It's first, second gear, mountain biking straight up. no rest. I mean, it's a big hill. And I've been riding it for 15 years. And I knew I was turning 45 in 3 days, and I knew I was ready for a big ride. I mean, my training had been going well, I've been doing a lot of lifting for the last couple of years. I just knew I was ready for a big ride. So today is my little challenge. I tell my buddy Dean, who I ride with all the time, I said, today's the day. Hey, we're going for time to the top. I've never broken 30 minutes. 29:34 to the top of that hill. God, did that feel good. Faster than I did when I was 30. So I was really very pleased, yeah. But I don't run at all anymore. I only mountain bike, just because football injury on my knee, and then I had dirt bike injury on my knee, and 2 knee surgeries. I got to keep off the weight-bearing stuff on my right knee. My left knee's fine, but it's not from the running, all the years of running. But the biking for me is just a lot of fun, and I enjoy going to the gym and lifting. I really got back into that. When my wife went back to the gym and started going to the gym, I was there to protect her, you know, because it was Gold's Gym in Venice, California, you know. I went there to protect her, keep everybody away, and I started getting back into it. I've enjoyed it. So my training's been going very well. I really have a lot of fun with getting back in shape. But I do some bike racing here and there. That's about it. Just because it's easier on my knee. So 20 years from now, it's still there. Yes. I want to compliment that child. You know, I don't know what happened to the other one. He did so good all the way to the end. I mean, that's an amazing kid. Making a decathlon out of him. Yeah. Any other questions? Training questions, eating questions, this and that? Yes.
After you had that goal and you obtained your goal, did you find yourself, what do you do with that big letdown afterwards? Well, now I've already got the goal. What do I do with the rest of my life?
Yeah. There is some transition period there. Fortunately, I walked away from athletics achieving every goal I could possibly achieve. There was nothing left there for me. So, and I am very fortunate to walk away that way. And I thank my lucky stars all the time that I was the one that can walk away like that. Which is, you know, really very few people can walk away from their athletic careers and say, I did everything I can do. It's time to move on. So for that reason, I never had the frustration of going back and accomplishing something I had to accomplish. I did everything at the time that I could possibly do. Time goes on and other people will break your records and this and that happens. That's life. There are other things out there. I found a lot in the business world, keeping myself busy. I enjoy the speaking. I enjoy doing a lot of different things. I work for a lot of different companies. So I took a lot of that and put it into the athletic, or into the business world. And still kept training, stay healthy. But I've really, to be honest with you, I've never once missed it. You know, I look back on it now because it's been 19 years, almost 20 years. 96 will be the 20th anniversary of my victory there. And I look back on it now, and I look, how did I do that? You know? I mean, I was in, you know, I try to, you test yourself every once in a while and say, I threw the shot how far back then? But at the time, you know, that was exactly what I wanted to do in life, to get yourself in that kind of shape. It was fun. It's a great memory to have in your memory bank. But I don't want to live that way the rest of my life. Because for me, that was not a well-rounded lifestyle back then. I was not what I consider a well-rounded human being. I could score a lot of points, you know, but, you know, don't ask me about world affairs, don't ask me about business, don't ask me about anything else. But that's what I had. That's why, you know, Roger Bannister, I'll continue on if you're not too good. One little story here. You know, I tell him in speeches, since most of them are gone, and just the real serious ones stay. And when I talk in a speech, I talk about I cross the finish line, key, locking it up, putting it in your brain, you know, locking up the memories as you cross the finish line, which kind of happened. But what really went through my mind at that time, it talks, and to get into to answering your question, when I crossed the finish line, my hands went up in the air, I screamed so loud, you know, I mean, I thought I broke my vocal cords. And then as I was slowing down, the thing that went through my mind was, there was a picture in 1972 that this photographer took of when I crossed the finish line. I was 10th place. But this guy took this picture across the finish line in the games in Munich. And it was a black and white, but just the way the color was done, he won this award in Europe as this great picture. My head was back and the expression in the eyes and all that sort of stuff. But the guy sent it to me, so I had it blown up. And I had a quote put over it that I liked. And for 3 years, it sat in my house. And I looked at it on the wall. And I kept thinking to myself, okay, that's that picture of this guy, this beautiful stride, going across the finish line, head's back, eyes, you know, all lit up, going across this finish line. And I'm thinking, I want to have the picture of the guy, of me, going across the finish line, and I want to see the finish line underneath my feet of that last step of the career. So I got the last step of the 72 games, and then I want to get that picture of the last step of the 76 picture. And, I could visualize what's going to look like this and that, going across the finish line, winning, all that sort of stuff. Well, I came to the finish line, and I really wasn't thinking about it. My hands were up in the air, and I screamed so loud, I sort of stumbled to a stop. And as I'm walking, as I'm regaining my composure there, I thought, hold it. First thing that went through my mind was that picture. Wait a second, I just missed the picture. I visualized that picture, going across the finish line, sort of like that, beautiful stride, just like the 72, when I was in 10th place. Beautiful stride. Here I was, sort of coming down, to a finish. And I said, that wasn't the picture I visualized. I felt like sort of turning around, going back, coming across the finish line one more time, And, but it was, that shows me, I visualized everything right down to what the final picture is going to look like. But the reason I'm telling you the story is because that quote I put over top of the picture I have from 72, which I looked at for so many years, really sort of summed up what I was doing in sports. And it was a quote from Roger Bannister. And what he said is, only in something like running can finality be achieved. It is not the type of finality that leaves you with nothing to live for, because sport is not the main aim in life. Yet to achieve perfection in one area, however small, makes it possible to face uncertainties and the more difficult problems in life. And that's pretty much what I viewed athletics about. I learned a lot about myself, I learned about pushing myself, and I'll take those things and go on to other areas in my life and other things that are probably a lot more important, raising kids and family and all that other stuff, and put my energies in other areas. So I never had a feeling like I had to go back and do it. But when I ride with all my buddies, yes, I'm still this guy that has to get to the top first. Okay. Still have that bit of purpose. It's fun, I lose most of the time. One guy's in such great shape. But anyway. Any other questions? Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, with your knee injury, biking, you mentioned you trained in the gym. I was just curious if you had a similar situation. I was curious what type of exercise you're doing.
Biking is by far, it's just great leg strength. Great leg strength. It depends on the individual injury that you have, what you have to be able to do certain things. What I try to do, I don't do any squats. I do work on a couple of machines in the gym where I can do sitting squats. I never go very heavy. I do sets of 15, maybe 20. I do quadricep extensions and hamstring curls and stuff like that, which seem to work because it's not weight bearing. I do inside-outside stuff. I do everything to try to take it as easy as I possibly can on the knee. And a lot of biking, And I try to not play tennis anymore and things like that because it just tears my poor little knee up. But I found, in just one second, I found in everything I do, I got a little shoulder. What I find as you get older, as we know, don't we? It's not the muscles that seem to give the problems, it's the skeletal structure that seems to give the problems. So in doing your liftings and things like that, it's taking it easy on the bones and the joints is more important than how hard you're working the muscle, because the muscle will stay strong and take an awful lot. Yeah, in the back?
How do you feel about amateurism in the Olympics? Continue what you did, or?
Well, I'm the last amateur you'll ever see, okay? It's not that I'm that proud of it either, but no. Well, okay, we'll do that as the last question here, because I know we have to move on. But, 76 was sort of the last year of the amateur athlete. Come 1980, we boycotted, we didn't go. Come 1984, the games in Los Angeles, Peter Ueberroth got a hold of it. The rules had changed by that time. Athletes could have agents and this and that. So things really did change. To be honest with you, I think for the sport, it's much better. The Carl Lewises of the world would have left the sport 10 years ago if they couldn't make a living in it. You look at Michael Johnson today, he's making a very good living in it. He's going to stay with it a long time. From a fan standpoint, I like to watch great athletes because they can make a living in it. In some cases, the top guys can make a very good living in it. It really has helped the event out tremendously. It is much better. I'm not in favor of putting $1 million at the finish line at the Olympic Games or anything like that. I think they're money meets, running for money, I think has a place at certain points. But the games, are the granddaddy of all. You don't need any money at the finish line. But I think from an overall standpoint, it is much better that the athletes concerned earn a living. Because you look at the games, they're a multi-billion-dollar event. Why can't the actors at least make a living? I used to remember Mac Wilkins with his food stamps. He was world record holder, Olympic champion, and here he was food stamps and food lines. We don't need that. If he was a doctor, he would be making a lot of money, and it was that good. All right, that's it. I want to thank you. I want to wish you the best of luck tomorrow. How many are running tomorrow? I love those hands. That's good. All right, well, good luck. I hope you all achieve your own personal goals. Thank you.
speaking of